Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm back again, and here we go. More Tarkir Dragonstorm legendary creatures that are turned into commanders. Kicking off again this week, 3 of them, and then a request on Thursday, so keep an eye out for that. That's going back to Foundations for the request this week, so that's what we're doing. And I've also got to make an apology. I have a few problems at home at the moment with the internet, so if this upload is a little bit crackly, I'm really sorry. I am waiting for an engineer to come around and fix the issue, but they're not coming until, well, when you see the requested deck on Thursday, they're going to be here sorting things out then. So if this sounds a little bit weird, I apologise in advance, so bear with me. But in the meantime, I tried to wait as long as I could. I couldn't wait any longer, and everyone who plays me regularly on stream knows that I really love Miriam, the Sentinel Worm, and obviously we had Ureni, the Unwritten, come and hit in this week in the pre-con decks. And so yeah, I couldn't resist any longer, so I had to do this version Ureni. I know I did the 10-10 version last week. That's there. That seems to have gone down all right. But this one, yeah. This is more my type of dragon. So, Ureni, the Unwritten, 4 green, blue, and red. So, Timor. 7/7, flying trample. And whenever Ureni enters or attacks, look at the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a dragon creature card from them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Yeah. If there was ever going to be a dragon commander that really took Commander by storm again since Miriam, it's going to be Ureni. It's just ridiculously good, and yeah, I couldn't resist it any longer, so I'm kicking off the week with this. So here we go. Here's what this week's deck looks like. Not this week's deck, today's deck. Apologies. So, 1 Planeswalker in the deck, bit of a no-brainer really. Sarkhan the Unbroken, we're going to draw cards, add mana, get a 4/4, or, you know, get to the -8 and just put every single dragon in our library onto the battlefield. Got no issues with that. Creatures, we're going a little bit funny. So, obviously we've got some of the expected ones. So, Dragon Lord Servants here to cut the cost of our dragons down. We also have Colessa the Scale Singer coming back in for Battle for Baldur's Gate. So we can look at the top card of our library at any time and cast dragon spells from the top of it. Dragon Speaker Shaman also hits in. Cuts the cost of our dragons down by 2. And then Nogi, the Draco Zealot, is also making an appearance. Again, makes our dragon spells cost 1 less. So there's 3 cost reductions in the first 4 creatures. And whenever a Nogi attacks, if you control 3 or more dragons, it becomes a 5/5 dragon with flying, toughness, and 5/5 and flying. I'll get there in the end. Patron of the Arts makes an appearance. It is a dragon, so you know we have got the expected card in the deck, and we're going to do this once we get the extra treasure, so a little bit of ramp. Sarkhan, Soul of Flame, also appears to cut the cost of our dragons down, so that's the 4th reduction spell we have in the deck. Whenever a dragon you control enters, Sarkhan may become a copy of it, except its name's Sarkhan, Soul of Flame, and it's legendary in addition to its other types. Then one of the new cards coming in from Tarkir, and this one's available in the bundle apparently, so it's Tamir Battlecry. 2 more mana for 4/3, and during our turn, spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. So with just this in play, you're cutting your cost down by 1, but if you've managed to get another couple of dragons in play somehow, you're going to be reducing your costs a lot more. Bonehall Dracosaur had to be here. I do love this card. It's one of my pet dragons. Okay, that sounds a bit weird, but you know what I mean. Beginning of our upkeep, we exile top 2 cards of our library. You may play them this turn. Exiled land, you get 3/1 dinosaur creature token. If you exile a non-land card, this way you get a treasure token. Okay. Gax, the Astral Hunter, had to make an appearance because we are creating dragons, and this gives us more treasure, so more mana to cast them with. And then the second of the new cards coming in from Tarkir Commanders. Gold Lust Triad. Flying, 4/3, 5 mana. So 4 on a red. Has Myriad, so whenever you attack with the actual original copy, you get copies equal to the number of opponents you've got, and they have to attack each of those opponents. But whenever you deal combat damage to a player, you get to create a treasure token with this card itself. Goldspan Dragons, the original treasure token creator. Loyal Guardian's one of the few non-dragon creatures in the deck. I just like this Lieutenant because of the +1/+1 counters it chucks around, because some of our dragons are a little bit on the weak side, so we might as well pump them up where we can. Scourge of Alcus is just silly. We all know what it does. This or another dragon enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to any target, or X is the number of dragons we control. Likewise, Terror of the Peaks backs that up quite nicely. The cost of this has come down a little bit since it was reprinted in Outlaws of Thunder Junction, but you know what it does. Another creature enters, it deals damage to target equal to its power. Twin Flame Tyrant means that damage that we're dealing is doubled up. And then we have Wrathful Red Dragon. Whenever a dragon you control is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target that isn't a dragon. Yeah, I quite like having this, and you know, we do have some ways of wiping the board that deal damage, and with Wrathful Red Dragons in play, you're doing a lot of damage to a lot of people. And then from there, they're kind of the key bits from my point of view, but then it's just flavour to the dragons you want. So this is what I flavoured with. You can change these around however you feel like you want to play it. So I've got Ancient Copper Dragon, I've got Inferno of the Star Mounts. Lathis Dragon Queen has to be in the deck no matter what. Yeah, my boys here, Miriam's in. There's no point in playing a Team Wall deck if you're playing dragons without it. Savage Ventmaw makes an appearance as well, just gives that extra mana boost when it attacks. Scourge of the Throne gets us the whole dethrone thing on the go, or an additional tax step if we need it. Tyrant of Kerr Ridges I just like as a bit of targeted removal, the 4 damage it does when it enters the battlefield. And then we've got our Tarka, Wild Render. It gives all our dragons double strike when they attack, which is just brutal. Balefire Dragon does the whole let's deal damage to each creature that player controls. Dragon Lord Tarka is just a big 8/8 who shares out 5 damage that comes into play. It's not the greatest dragon in the world, but I just play this because it's old school, I like it, and that's the end of it. Old Gnawbone's in to give us all the wonderful treasure tokens we get when we deal combat damage with our creatures. Tyrant's Familiar is a nice one though. I do like this Lieutenant. I have to say, as long as you control your commander, the Familiar gets +2/+2 and has, whenever it attacks, it deals 7 damage to target creature defending player controls. So even before you get to blockers, you can remove one of the big flying blockers out of the way, unless it's something that's indestructible or pro-red. Achroma, I'm thinking of you. Ancient Silver Dragon's in, just to maximise our hand size. Utavi Hellkite is also in, so whenever dragons are attacked, we get more 6/6 flying dragons to block with. And then my final pet card, Earthquake Dragon, just comes into play a lot of the time for 1 green mana, flying and trample, and then you can sack a land and return it from your graveyard to your hand if you need to at some stage. Sorceries, there's a lot of ramp, I'm not going to lie about it. We are looking at a 7 mana commander, and a lot of the creatures cost like 6+ that are going to win us the game. So we had to go heavy on the ramp. So Farseek, Nature's Law, Rampant Growth, 3 visits, Cultivate, Ranger's Path, and Sky Shroud Claim are all in to help us ramp out our land. We have got Gaia's Blessing in the deck as well, just to return things. If you know, some of our early game mana reduction cards get taken out, or we lose some of our dragons, we can shuffle them back in with this. And if someone's playing a mill deck, we can just shuffle our whole graveyard back in if we need to, which is quite funny. Jazika's Will also makes an appearance just to help us out with that extra mana and the exiling the top 3 cards we can play. And then we have 2 little bits of board control. Chain Reaction, Blasphemous Act. That should be enough to keep the board clear for our dragons to just smack someone in the head. 2 instants, nothing much. The other game changer, Cyclonic Rift, is here. And then Heroic Intervention, because I want to keep my dragons alive. I have played games before, not with this deck yet, because obviously it's not available, but if I look at my Miriam version, I've played Heroic Intervention, I've then cast Blasphemous Act, wiped everyone else out, and won the game because all my dragons survived, which is quite fun. We do have a fair few artifacts to help us ramp though, so we've still got Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, then one of each of the medallions just to cut down the cost even further of our things. The Carnelian Orb of Dragonkind comes in as well. I think it's been reprinted in Foundations if memory serves correctly. But if not, Baldur's Gate, off you go. Tap, add a red. If this spell was spent to cast on, if this mana is spent on a dragon creature spell, it gains haste. Very nice if you can use this to cast Ureni, because you know you come in, you get a dragon from the enters the battlefield attack trigger, and then when you attack, you get another one. Seems very good to me. A couple of things to reduce our things down. So Cloud Keys here as well. To we choose creature, cuts the cost for all creatures down by 1, and Herald's Horn obviously gets named as dragons. We know what this does. There's no point going on about it. The final one, the Great Henge. No point in playing a deck like this if you can't have the Great Henge in play for the extra mana, life, and card draw and rampage, and well, increase in toughness basically. So yeah, let's do that. We have 8 enchantments. Obviously we're playing a dragons deck, so Dragon Tempest is here today, and then we've got Garrick's Uprising to help us get the card draw and give everything trample. Rising of the Day gives everything haste and pumps all our legendary creatures by +1/+0. Timur Ascendancy also means we give all our creatures haste, and creatures you enter with power 4 or more, we draw a card. Crucible of Fire, yeah, had to have it in here. Pumps all our dragons up by +3/+3. Civil Unrest also gives all our non-token creatures riot. I would suggest that you use this mainly to do the whole +1/+1 counter, unless you really need the haste to win the game. Because a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it will deal damage to a permanent or player, deals double that damage instead. Now, it works well with the Green Lieutenant, I realise that, but most of the time you just want to do the riot counters and put the +1/+1s on. Last two are 2 enchantments coming in from the set itself. So Tarkir gives us Dragonback Assault, another way of just dealing with all the small stuff that may be on the board, and some Planeswalker damage. And then the landfall triggers just stupid and gives you a 4/4 red dragon creature token, which I love. And then we had to play it in one deck, and this just seemed a natural home for it. Might as play the Draco Genius or the Red Omniscience for dragons, if you want to call it that. Is it going to stay in play? Probably not. Are we going to get to cast it? Maybe. But at the end of the day, I'm playing a Timur Dragon deck with a whole load of ramp. If I can get this out, I'm a very happy little streamer. I really am. Lands, nothing too fancy. Red, green, and blue lands all the way through. I'm not playing for change. I left the Temple of the False God and the Reliquary Tower at home today. Didn't bother with them, but you know, we've got the Riptide Virgin. We've got a couple of the outlooks in, so we've got Riveter's Outlook, and we've got another one, Maestro Theatre, just to go and search some lands out. Everything else is pretty much what you'd expect to see in a Timur deck, and that's it. That is my little take on Ureni the Unwritten that I couldn't wait any longer to do, so I hope you've enjoyed it. We're going to try and... There are other dragons I want to do, but I'm going to, I've had a couple of comments in Discord saying, can we have something that isn't a dragon? So I'm going to have a look at one of the other cards tomorrow that isn't a dragon. We'll probably do another dragon on Wednesday, and like I say, we've got the requested deck on Thursday. So please, there's 640 of you now, so thank you very much for those of you who joined recently. I really do appreciate it. Let your friends know, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button if you can, get my videos a bit more coverage, I'd appreciate it. But for now, I'll see you tomorrow when I'm back with another one. Have a good one. Bye.